Namaste. Welcome to the Happy Jack Yoga podcast. I'm Happy Jack, live from Harvard Innovation Lab in Boston, Massachusetts, USA. And we've got a very special guest today. I'm here live with the one and only.
Kristen from Muskoka, Ontario, Canada.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Right on. And some of you, those who are been a part of our community, members in the community, you'll very much know who Kristen is because you'll be in communication with her often with regards to any questions that you have. Basically, anything that I can't handle, Kristen's your go-to. She really runs this place. And, with regards to certifications and all the good stuff. So we're really honored to have this special conversation today. And I just noticed, I'm actually just realizing right now, I didn't shave this morning. And I'm gonna blame that. Although as yogis, we should not blame. We should take full responsibility for all of our actions. But I'm actually gonna blame our friend Brandon, who's live here with us. Because him and I, we were having a great conversation as I was getting ready. And that's the tricky thing, right? When you're not like fully present doing what you're doing and you're having a good conversation, you forget stuff. But the good thing is most people are listening on Spotify or Apple, and really it doesn't matter if I forgot to shave. But let's let the lessons be. Let's not blame other people because that was a joke. I take full responsibility. Nice. And so, today, a couple of things I wanted to open with. Well, one with regard, well, first of all, maybe I should just mention because Brandon's here live with us. It's such an honor to have Brandon, who has just moved into the ashram here in Boston, and he's jumped right in. He's been here for less than a week, but he's participating in like the 2 hour long morning meditations. He's going out on the outings with the yogis and the singing and the dancing and the all of the different services. And it's so nice to have him here, and like I mean this when it's you're a really easy person to be around, really easy, with regards to just easy to have a conversation. It's not like don't feel like there has to be any performing, or I feel like I don't, and I also feel like I don't have to be a teacher. I get to just be a student. We just get to be students together here. And so that's nice and relaxing. Um, the only thing is I'm a bit of a bad influence, I think, on Brandon. 'Cause today, no, he's shaking his head no. But because what I do, I sneak out during the morning meditation. I sneak out and go for a jog because I just need to move a little bit in the morning. And Brandon, kind of caught me heading out this morning, and so I invited him, and now I'm this bad influence that's taking Brandon away from his meditation, and bringing him out. But no, no, we've got to have a little balance, right? A little bit balance between fresh air as well as the practices. Um, but yeah, honored to have you here. Obviously, Kristen, you've had the pleasure of connecting with Brandon, either in calls, but also what is just for fun, what has your experience been in engaging with Brandon?
So Brandon, obviously, throughout the community, on live calls, he just finished being a guest leader on the social media and AI course for yoga teachers, which was it blew up. It was phenomenal. Lots of chatter around the community about that. Also, he has attended some of my spirit talks, kind of on my own personal page, and he's put in a lot of like really amazing input and just like what we're doing here, a lot of great just banter back and forth. So I've always had such positive and interesting Brandon interactions. So, sorry to put you on the spot here, Brandon. I see you smiling. But yeah, I've always had such a beautiful connection with Brandon, and I really love listening to his stories. I feel like he has just like this wealth of knowledge in his brain, and I love kind of picking at it and hearing what he has to say about things. So
Mm.
um, all good here.
Nice. I love that. And it's a great point you mentioned about the social media and AI course that we just had last month. And when we find something that we love, and this is really our wish for all of us yogis and yoga teachers, are to find these practices and these tools that we love, to use them ourselves, and then the natural tendency is to want to share them. And so, that's what Brandon did with our course. Now here he is at the ashram. Last night, it was like after I went to bed, because I go to bed at 7:30. I'm a grandpa. After I went to bed, Brandon's leading a course, or a mini uh, whatever lecture on the same stuff: social media, AI, Snapchat, all these tools. He had a group of like 6 or 7 of the yogis there, these young, eager guys in their 20s, and teaching them those tools. And it's like when we find these things, we want to share them. And so that's a beautiful thing. And truthfully, in a way, I'm a little bit envious in a only good way, because Brandon is here, and he has the time freedom because he's not, studying at the moment. He's not, running yoga school, so he has the time to like really participate fully in the ashram experience, which is it begins at 4:30 in the morning and it goes till 8:30 at night, and there's so many beautiful opportunities. And So in a way, it's just not, it would be irresponsible for me to do everything because I just have a lot of other obligations. But it's like I'm just really happy that he's here and he's experiencing that. So welcome, Brandon. Welcome live. And everybody who is, anybody, I'll just put it out there. If anybody else feels the urge to come live ashram life, send us an email at info@happyjackyoga.com. I think it's a bit of a long shot. Sue's like throwing her arms up. Oh yeah, we have a women's ashram here,
Oh, I
Sue.
was gonna say, Jack, is it for men and women?
Yeah. Yeah, we got the fourth floor is all women, and then men's floor is on the third floor. So it's, I mean, truthfully, probably like 1 in 1,000 are like really in a life situation where they can, leave home and come and do this for some period. But if anybody feels called, send us an email and happy to share details. Um, yeah, but it's cool. It's I think the most important thing is surrounding ourselves with people that share similar values and are high vibe and are empowering and yeah, just want to become better people. And that's what it's all about. And that's why you're here, Kristen. That's why we're here. That's why we're on this journey. Um, the other thing, I've said this before, I'll just bring it up because it's another topic. It's another course that we offer at Happy Jack Yoga University, is this yoga nidra. And I know Brandon is big into that. I know you've done it, Kristen. Hanna is big into it. I Because I don't have the time freedom, for example, that Brandon has, and I'm at school all day, like, kind of working, going to school. I don't have a bed that I can just go, take a nap in. And but actually, with Brandon this morning said like, well, hey, you could do yoga nidra, you can do it sitting up, or even here on I'm in a conference room, could just do it laying on the floor. So right before the podcast, I pulled out one of Hanna's yoga nidras, 15 minutes, boom, laid out, and it feels so good just to be able to pause and reset. um yeah, so it's like it's kind of one of those things. There's no excuses, right? I'm saying that to myself, no excuses. Like it's easy to be like, oh, I don't have a bed, or oh, I don't have a yoga mat, or oh, I whatever. But it's like yoga it's accessible anytime, anywhere, in many different forms. Yeah.
Your
So
yoga nidra nest can be anything you make it. It could be your butt against the wall, just feeling supported and loved.
mhm. Absolutely. And it feels like, and it can be done by itself, which is what I do, every day. But I must admit, I'm sorry this whole podcast is getting themed around Brandon, but he just moved into the ashram, and so we're doing a bunch of stuff together. But we've been practicing yoga first thing in the morning. We meet at 4:15, so then we have 30 minutes to practice yoga before the program starts here, and we're doing like a hero's journey flow. And as I said to him this morning, I'm kind of stepping it up. When I'm there every day, by myself, but I'm doing a little bit kind of grandpa flow, nice and easy and slow, and get out the creaks, and which is good. But then all of a sudden, when I got this young buck next to me who's all fit and ripped, I'm like, I better do some hero's journey. And so we've been doing one breath per movement and just like flowing through like 5 sun salutation A's, 3 sun salutation B's, crescent lunge, flip dog. In the flip dog, we high five. The other yogis, in there, probably like, what are these guys doing? High fiving. They're just supposed to be saying Namaste or Hare Krishna, and they're high fiving. But pigeon pose and a big wheel, headstand. I must say, this morning I am doing headstand because we wear what's called a dhoti, and it's basically kind of like what Gandhi did. It's kind of like wrapping a white bed sheet around your body, and that's what you wear on the bottom. And so this morning I'm in a headstand, and my dhoti, which normally is like it's like tied at your waist and it hangs down. Well, you get the picture. It didn't completely lift, but one of the older yogis came over while I'm in handstand or headstand, grabs my dhoti and like wraps it around my feet, just so because actually it was right at the time when some of the women were starting to come into the yoga shala. You couldn't see anything, but just to cover up my legs. But anyways, just doing this practice first thing in the morning, and finish with a shavasana, and it's just a beautiful way. I'm just reminded, if I think back to you, Kristen, like when we practiced together at the summer retreat, as much as having a daily personal practice is powerful, when we were together at that summer retreat in the room together, smiling, high-fiving, hugging, sweating, it's a different energy. And what maybe you share, what was your experience when we were all together in that space?
Well, I try, and anybody who was there, I know Sue, you were there. Um, it's hard to put in words because I really don't feel like there are words to kind of describe the power that community brings, especially the Happy Jack Yoga community. Um, just all the talk about how you're inspired by Brandon being there and you want to push yourself to be better. I really kind of you know words that come to mind are positive peer pressure. So we see the people that we're surrounded by and we want to push ourselves to be better. And I think there's a lot to say about the energy of the people that you surround yourself with, and how when you surround yourself with, badass yogis like we do here, and just amazing, positive people that are just really on a path of growth and spirituality and love, bhakti, and you just push yourself to be better. And I mean, for me, I'm looking at some of these yogis in the circle going, oh, okay. Like when you look at Brandon going, oh, he's really fit. And I'm looking at my partner to my left and my right and going, holy crap, they're really fit. Can I do this? But the thing is, when you're surrounded by it, it's almost like this, when a child gets trapped under a car and a mother has the strength to just rip the car off. You just find this personal power within yourself because you have that positive peer pressure around you going, like, you can do this. You've got this. They're
Mm.
just kind of like a little hand, like Sue just said, lifting you up. Absolutely. So, um, if you've ever questioned going to a Happy Jack yoga retreat, I can guarantee you it'll be something you take with you for the rest of your life. And just even thinking back to that moment, I can feel the same feelings I felt that whole weekend. And
Mm.
I know for a fact people were just kind of like cloud nine, like back to reality. They're like, how do you go back to reality after this? This was so amazing and life changing. But the beautiful thing is we can take those experiences with us and use that when we are in our own personal practice. So if I'm home by myself, I can be like, hey, remember that time I was at the Happy Jack yoga? And it's almost like, okay, I can do, one more flow. I can do the hero's journey. And I'm a badass yoga teacher and I'm a badass yoga practitioner. So it's yeah, I don't really have the words to describe, but
That's awesome. No, I love it. I feel it. I feel you. And I see the chat, like Sue and Tammy are like, oh, I can't wait for this summer. These yogis already lining up. In fact, Saga's coming. Saga's coming over from Finland. Her and Lauri. We got a beautiful crew coming.
yeah.
Um, Yeah, it is. It is special to surround ourselves with great people. And I mean, like you're saying, bringing you back to that moment, like those breakthrough moments were like so empowering, and just seeing like the people light up. It's a blessing. But let me see here. While we just while we've been on the topic, I'm gonna get Brandon on here for a second, and let's see, and just let's just go impromptu checking in live at the ashram in Brandon's bunk bed. For yourself, our friend, what is on your heart, having been a couple of days now at the ashram? What are you feeling? Hare Krishna.
I'm feeling pretty great. I've been really enjoying the whole process of everything, and the change of environment, change of being around people that are on the same path, spiritual path.
Mhm.
And waking up early. I really like waking up like at 3:50 every single day, and then us getting into yoga, like you said, adding in the running, all that kind of stuff. It's been a really great experience, and just the learning of all these new different types of processes, like even the footwork that we do in the mornings. You know what I mean? Where you like for the routine of how we, or like when we circle around the little plant that we're all helping grow by throwing water on. It's a really cool, unique experience of like camaraderie in a way, of like all of us kind of coming together almost like a brotherhood, and just kind of like sisterhood too, but there's not as many females here as there are men. And so I just really have found that this experience has been life changing for me. It's great, and so I'm blessed that I got to get this opportunity, and that I followed my heart. And even whenever everything looked like it wasn't going to be able to work out for me, I still stuck to it, and I said, no, it's going to happen. And yeah, and now I'm here, and I love all the conversations I've had. Every single day I've been journaling. So I've been really journaling every single day in my journal. So I'll have reflections, so I can actually kind of almost create like a little, story about it, because every day something new has happened, and it's been just amazing. Every single day something new gets introduced.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it goes to show of like when we really want something, when we're determined. I mean, you made this happen. Like I straight up I was trying to talk you out of it. Not only for good reason, because I'm like, it's a big commitment, right? It's a big, you're going to travel across the country, give up a lot of your time, big and for a number of reasons. I was like, really think this through. And but you're like, you knew in your heart this is what you wanted to do. You made it happen. Here you are. It was definitely the right thing. And I love that. I love that you're taking the time to journal and to reflect and to capture that. Because one day, you go back, whether you're writing a book or whatever it happens to be, and just, go back and refer to those. Would you share what's your experience been, coming back to like for us yogis and yoga teachers, what is your experience in the morning doing some asana with us, doing a little flow, you and I? What's your experience there?
Yeah, so it's definitely been an amazing experience. I really love the fact that we both, we know the sequence so well that, we just do it silently. And for me, that works perfect. And we can hear the other monks in there that are, doing their Maha mantra and stuff. And so it's a very spiritual experience every single morning. First thing I do doing yoga, because yeah, for me, I gotta maintain my yoga and pranayama, and I've been doing more yoga and more pranayama now than even before I came here. And so, just because it's like, since I'm already doing all the, doing the Maha mantra every single day and doing all this other spiritual practices, I'm like, I'm definitely going to include, the main spiritual practices that have helped me the most. And so I do pranayama about 3 or 4 times a day too. And I really do love being able to, just the first thing you do in the morning is practice yoga, especially with, obviously being my main yoga teacher and mentor, because I'm in the mentorship group too. So it's really nice, because it's like, I get to really be one-on-one working on, personal growth with you as well, and spiritual growth, and to realize how disciplined you are as a being. It really influences me positively to be able to get myself up. That's why I was like, no matter what, I'm going to get up every single morning. I'm going to be here, and be in the moment and practice the yoga. And so I've been sticking to it. And so it's been just a blessing, and very grateful to be here every single day
That's
on this
awesome.
journey with you.
That's sweet, man. Yeah, no, it feels good. It's mutual. And you mentioned we got to do maybe a quick plug for the mentorship program. Brandon mentioned our mentorship program. This is the silly thing. I mean, for us at Happy Jack Yoga, we're what you call artists and creators. We love to create and serve and do yoga stuff. And we don't focus a whole lot on like the marketing and all these other important aspects. So we actually have this pretty epic mentorship program. We meet every Sunday. Every single Sunday, I meet with the group at 10 a.m. Eastern and coach and mentor and take you through the certified yoga life coaching program, as well as a high performance coaching curriculum. It's basically like small intimate group coaching. It's $20 a month, which is pretty darn affordable. And of course, we've never told anybody about it, so which is so silly. So let this be an invitation. If anybody out there wants to get coached by myself on Sundays every week, $20 a month, shoot us an email, info@happyjackyoga.com. Let me get you the details. But yeah, it's like, having that accountability, and you talk about the discipline. It's like I've been in the presence of people who had discipline in certain areas, and that it like inspired me, and then it just became a part of who I am. And it seems like for yourself, Brandon, you've now, come into an environment where you're inspired by some of the yogis here, and you're embracing some of those lifestyles. And that's just like what Kristen was talking about at the Muskoka retreat. We're in the room together at the retreat, and just like we lift one another up, and it's really special. So we're, yeah, really happy to have you here with us, my friend.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Nice one. Awesome. And I saw you put in the chat there about the headstand. We'll get you rocking headstand. Like you're determined. You're like kicking up.
Yeah.
I could hear you anyways doing
Yeah.
something while I was up in headstand.
Yeah. No, I actually got it to hold for a couple seconds, and then I rolled out, and then I just ended up just kind of just playing with it a little bit, just trying to kick up a little bit. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say, is that's one thing that you hold it for a good long time. Probably, I'd say about 30 seconds to a minute, maybe.
Yeah.
Or it might be a
And
little even longer than that.
I mean, what I can hold it for 10 minutes. Now my ego is talking, but I can, and it's so good, but we kind of don't have so much time. But once you get to being able to hold the headstand, we can hold it for a little bit longer, a few minutes, and you do your pranayama while you're up there in that pose.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, it feels good.
You think it'll flatten out my pointy head?
Absolutely. No, no, it's all
I'm
good.
just playing.
Cool. Right on. Well, let's send some love, high vibes to the ashram in Boston. Impromptu, a little chat with Brandon. Nice one. And there's so many things. And I will just say, the intention, what's going to happen today, very soon we're going to shift. And Kristen is going to put me on the hot seat. And she's got some questions prepared. In fact, if any of you here live have a question, I'm talking to Saga, Sue, Yada, Tammy, uh, Brandon. If any of you guys have a question that you want Kristen to ask me, anything at all, no limits, just put it in the chat. I won't look, and she'll ask. Because we sent it out to the community. I guess it was kind of last minute yesterday, but none came in. So these will all be questions from yourself. But let's maybe I've got a number of opening things here, but there's nothing earth shattering. So why don't we shift to some of these questions, and then if we run out of time, I've got a lot more kind of topics we can go to, but let's see how things go. Being inspired by the energy and the practice we had this morning with Brandon, and thinking back to the Muskoka retreat with Kristen and Sue and all of the others who are coming this year. Let me have it, Kristen. What you got?
Okay, well, I have a couple. But one I actually was just inspired to write down as I was listening to you chat. Um, and it's something I know a lot of yogis struggle with, or just a lot of people in general. And that's, how do you find the courage to be disciplined? Because Jack, I think you're probably the most disciplined person I've ever encountered in my life. And um, I know when we're in these groups, like when we're at the Happy Jack yoga retreats, we have that courage to do those things. But when you find yourself alone, like
Mhm.
most of us are on, whether spouses or families are gone for the day, whether or not our alarm goes off at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. and we're struggling to find that courage.
Mm.
How do you bring yourself from, I know this is good, I want to do this, to, holy shit, I'm doing this, pardon my language?
Mm. Yeah, no, great question. Great question. Part of the answer is in what you said, in the sense that when you talked about, when you're doing it with others and then doing it by yourself. So actually, Brandon and I were talking about this today. It's easier to do things when you're kind of surrounded by others, right? We come to the Muskoka retreat, or some of you will come to India with us, and it's like, well, when we're in that full retreat immersion, and there's a schedule and the program starts at a certain time, it's like we're a lot more likely to be there. So that's a good time to cultivate habits and to experience the benefits, right? It's like, so like when we're there, it's like, oh my goodness, this feels so good. Um, and then you're right, but what really matters is doing it when nobody's looking. There's like that saying, I don't it's saying something like, I don't care what you put on Facebook. I want to know what you're doing and who you are when nobody's looking. You know what I mean? I want to know what kind of person you are, your character, how you talk to your kids, how you talk to your partner. I want to, when nobody's looking. That's what really matters. And so I said to Brandon, because next week I'm coming home to Canada. Kristen, you and I, we're going to be together. Me, you, and
Pardon.
Hunna, we're doing a team day and some nice Mexican, which we always do. And so I challenged Brandon, while I'm gone, uh, this is the time to keep up that daily morning yoga practice, because there won't be anybody else down there doing it. I'm the only one, right? So he's committed to that. Um, so the question is like how to get the courage to have the discipline. I feel part of it is the why, and I can only speak for myself. So I think from having gone off track many times in my life with substances, with all kinds of stuff, with lifestyle, like I've just gone off track, and I've seen how that has made me feel. And then I've also plugged in at yoga retreats and yoga teacher training and living at ashrams in India, and I've just felt how it made me feel. And I would say more importantly, I've seen how it caused me to be. I saw that it made me a better person. It made me more kind. It made me more compassionate. It made me, these kind of nice qualities. And it became like, this is who I want to be. This is how I want to spend. This is how I want to spend my time. And so it really just became a decision of like, this is who I am. It's a priority. And what it does require, though, is in order to say yes to ourselves, sometimes we have to say no to other things. We really have to decide what are the things that we're gonna prioritize. In fact, just last night at the ashram, a really nice yogi comes up to me. He kind of figures out we've got this Happy Jack Yoga University, probably because Brandon's talking about all the cool stuff we do. And so this guy's like, "Oh, yo, you've got a business. Like, would you? I gotta get some of your time so you can mentor me on business to help me grow my business." And and I'm kind of thinking, actually, well, my first tip for you is to start saying no to invitations, because if you really want to do something, if you want to grow a business, or you want to start a yoga practice, or you want to, whatever it is we want to do, we got to say no to other distractions. And so I need to, I in showing the demonstrating this him, I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't have time to sit and mentor you in your business, whatever that may be. So I'm not saying it's easy. It takes time. Like you say, I've been doing this for a lot of years now, but I guess I've just seen the results. There's like the saying, discipline equals freedom. And it feels it yeah, you gotta really want it, I guess. Cause I mean, it's kind of humorous because at like 5 p.m., I get into my pajamas and everybody else at the ashram is like, they're still gonna go party and go dance. They're still gonna have dinner. Then they're gonna have a kirtan and chanting, and then, probably they're gonna check their phones and stuff. But at 5 p.m., I shower, I get into my PJs. By 6 p.m., I'm in bed, reading, and by 7:15, I'm sleeping. And and because then that more when 3:30, 3:45, that alarm clock goes off, it's like I feel amazing. I can't wait to go do yoga. I can't wait to go do, you know, and it's so I think I guess what I'm hearing in that also is just being excited about it. We need to find things that we enjoy, right? Because if it's not everybody is wired to go to the gym, not everybody's wired to do this or to do that or to even do yoga. I think it's finding the things that we enjoy. Um, yeah, so I guess I think I've been jumping all around the place, but those are the things that come to mind when I think about cultivating discipline.
No, it totally makes sense. And it just kind of that saying is, find things that light you up, that set you on fire, and do more of those things. So I think that's just kind of, reiterates that to us. And I love that you said discipline equals freedom.
Mm,
Because if
yeah.
it was easy, we would all be doing it. We'd all be living at the ashram, or, XYZ here or there. So I think you really have to find what's special to you and what's meaningful to you, and, do more of that.
And something else I just think of, inspired by a friend of ours who's on the Zoom here with us, is getting resourceful. So right now I see Yada she's doing yoga right now. Like she's doing a nice restorative. She's got her head on a block, forward fold. And so it's like, you know, because some of us could be listening to a podcast while simultaneously checking our Instagram or, whatever, checking our email. And, I've been guilty of that. But it's like, hey, okay, we have a finite number of hours in the day. It's like, well, I want to be here, part of this podcast live, so I can listen, be a part of the community, get to chat with the group after. But at the same time, yoga is important. So instead of just like sitting here in a posture with my shoulders slumped forward, I'm gonna take an intentional yoga pose. And so I feel like being resourceful as well. There's that saying, there's never a lack of resources. There can only be a lack of resourcefulness. And
Yeah.
so if we get resourceful, like there's always a way. Um, but I think that, coming back to what you shared, Kristen, earlier, surrounding ourselves with people that are doing good stuff, and then so the day um, when you come to our house next week, we're gonna do, we're gonna have a little cacao ceremony. We're gonna close our eyes, do some meditation. We're gonna chant some mantra, right? Because like we're together with people and we're doing some of those practices. And so I feel like you kind of get filled up by being with people that lift us up. And then eventually it just becomes who we are. And yeah, I mean, you couldn't pay me. I mean, you couldn't pay me to not do this stuff. Like I've said before, I mean, I haven't hit the snooze button in over 10 years. I can say in my life, for the rest of my life, for the next 100 years, I will never once hit the snooze button. There's just like non-negotiables. It just doesn't even go off on my phone, right? You can only turn it off. And so it's just like, I guess decisions are made, lines are drawn in the sand, and it doesn't mean that next week I'm not going to watch a Netflix. It doesn't mean that next week when I'm back home, I'm not going to eat some vegan nachos and cheese, and I'm not going to eat too much when you and I go out for Mexican. I'm going to eat way too much.
I
I'm
think
not
that's just a
perfect.
given. We have to.
Yeah, like I'm not perfect at all, but there is certain kind of foundational non-negotiables that happen every single day, and that's enough that then allows me to not be perfect. that allows me to be a little bit flexible and spontaneous. Um, yeah, great
I,
question.
I love that. And just to kind of, soon as you said non-negotiables, it really kind of stirred something inside me. I know this is not super yogic, but you know, almost 10 years ago now, I was going through a divorce, and something that I decided, um, and you know, a lot of people, how did you find the strength to do it? And you just kind of do. But something that really helped me get through that was finding my non-negotiables. So
Mhm.
anybody that was going to come into my life, whether that be a romantic partner, a friendship, a colleague, these were now my boundaries or my non-negotiables for these relationships going forward. And soon as I did that, my life changed dramatically. And a bunch of things started to unfold. And one of those things is, you know, I'm here with you, talking to you, Happy Jack, working alongside you and for this amazing company. And these were all part of that non-negotiable kind of contract I made with myself and source, universe, however you want to describe it. So I'm super happy to hear you say that was non-negotiables. And I think once you start saying no to things that aren't aligned with what you're doing, you put those non-negotiables in place. It's really interesting to see what kind of unfolds in front of you. So I'm super happy to hear you say that.
Yeah, no, and that's totally yogic though, what you share, like, and deciding who, who it is that you want to be associated with. And because everywhere, even within the yoga communities, even at the ashram, in different circles of beautiful souls, there's going to be some people that we want to spend more time with because they like uplift us and they feel like we resonate, and others that, we keep a healthy distance. And so I think it's really healthy that for us as yoga teachers, we may encounter that as teachers and with our students, that there's some that, like, Brandon, I could tell is a good guy, and it's okay that we're in close proximity and hanging out. And sometimes there may be students that we need to keep a healthy distance, for whatever reason. And just really trusting that and having those values and those internal, uh yeah, just what feels right to us. So nice one. All right,
All right.
what else you got? That was a good one. That kind of came spontaneous based from the conversation. What else?
It was funny. It was a total spontaneous one.
Yeah.
Something that I was really curious about, because I know you value um, not privacy, but your time to reflect and inner growth and just kind of being in solace with yourself. So living within an ashram, you're surrounded by people. Even Brandon sitting there, I saw people coming in and out. Um, you're surrounded by this beautiful Happy Jack yoga community through podcasts, through mentoring, through our 200 hours, which is a gift. However, how do you find that inner peace, that inner solace
Mm,
within yourself, when you need that alone time, when you need to kind of step back and
mm.
recharge?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. And in a way it ties in with what we were just sharing. It's just knowing, well, really knowing ourselves. And I think me and you, Kristen, you even, it would be not so obvious because when I see you like at Toronto Yoga Conference, you're like big energy, like just so like it seems like you're such an extrovert, just the way
Yeah.
that you connect and, high, super high vibe energy. But I also know of you that you also need your quiet and alone time. And I'm the same. And it just becomes knowing that about ourselves, which you and I do. And then again, being a non-negotiable. And so that's why, when I'm at the ashram, like, you know, like Brandon had just people coming up. I would not be sitting where Brandon is right now. Like he's in his bunk bed, and there's 8 people in that room, and that's why I'm not in that room, because it's just easy for people to come up and have a conversation, and there's nothing negative about it. But what you're asking here is sometimes we need that personal space. So Brandon has a bed. He came in and he's got a bed. I sleep on the floor. But for me, quiet and quiet space was more important than comfort. So I happily sleep on the floor in a quiet room with one other guy who's like 58 from Croatia and just totally keeps to himself. And so I can get away and have that, and I can get in my PJs at 5 p.m. and sneak away into my corner, and you know, all the young kids think I'm probably nuts, and that's okay. I don't care. And same thing, like while I'm at school here, I'm in a conference room, so like I, you know, close the door, and I, you know, just did the yoga nidra on the floor of the conference room. So I feel like finding these creative ways to get the quiet time, because it's so important. Like today is a insane day. I mean, the last, like yesterday I had 7 appointments. Today's only 4. The next day is 6 appointments. But it's like, you know, when we have those back-to-back things, even though it's all good, even though like you know, this podcast conversation, like I finished this like inspired, and you know, like, oh man, that was awesome, so much fun connecting with Kristen, connecting with Brandon, seeing Yada practicing yoga. Like I get uplifted. But then if we do too much, if we do a lot of that back to back without the decompression, I know that's where your question comes from. So how do I do it? Again, it's just a non-negotiable. It's like, but I'll tell you what, I think at least for me, it came with maturity, because when I was in my 20s, I wouldn't have been able to say no. I would have like been the people pleaser and the nice guy, and I would have felt weird to sneak off early, to go to bed early. To now, you know, I joke I'm like the grandpa. You know, like these kids they're all in their 20s, maybe a couple in their early 30s, like Brandon, and and I'm okay with saying no. But I do it out of love. Like you know, it's not, yeah, I don't feel bad about it. I know it's right, because again, saying no to whatever is happening at the ashram, well, that means that I get a good night's sleep, so I have energy to be here with you today, right? And then do all the other stuff for Happy Jack Yoga and my studies. Um, so that, yeah, that's kind of what comes to mind.
That's amazing. And I love that sometimes saying no to others is saying yes to ourselves. And, um, I think that's a really important distinction, because I think you and I, Jack, are a lot alike in certain aspects. It's probably why we get along so well. But in my 20s, probably even a little teeny bit now, I like making other people happy. And we can fall into this trap that, oh, if I'm making other people happy, then I'm happy. Well, sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes we have to stop and think for ourselves, so that, like you said, we fill up our cups so that we can show up for the people that are important. So I really think that's quite a valuable lesson. And I think it's important for people to know that even if you're saying no to somebody, it's not like, oh no, sorry. You can do it with kindness and love and say, hey, I appreciate that you've asked me. Wow, what an honor. But tonight I think I'm going to go to bed because I really value this, my sleep schedule, or unfortunately I have something else going on. So I think
Yeah.
it's really important for people to know that you can say no with love and kindness and still, honor and value yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I'm so happy that you do that. And I see Brandon says in the chat that, you know, he finds time for peace, puts his headphones on, does his own practice. Brandon, can I just ask, do you have earphones in now, or can everybody in the room hear? I think everybody can
I
hear.
don't have headphones in right now, but there's like nobody in the room.
Yeah.
Um, that there was one or two that came in, but then they go right back out.
Oh,
I actually don't have my headphones in right now because I lost one of my headphones yesterday, so I'm gonna be looking for it today. I
yeah.
do have the other set of headphones, but as you can see, it's on a wire. And I personally like
Mhm.
earbuds like that are easy and they're, you can't see them, so I don't want to be wearing that while I'm on the call.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why. Yeah.
Yeah, no, no, and the reason I was asking, I'm gonna I'm gonna save a share then for next week, just because, just I don't want to. You know, obviously, I will keep it anonymous, but you know, Brandon, I think you know what I'm thinking about. But there was a moment at the ashram a few days ago, which I think was a really good learning and teaching for me. but I don't want to tell that story in case somebody walks in, even though I'll do it anonymously. But yeah, it's like I think it's great, like knowing who we are, knowing what our needs are, and honoring that, and again, setting those boundaries. And yeah, great question, Kristen. What else you got for us?
All right, I have one that's a little bit fun, maybe more fun for us than for you, Jack, but
Ah,
that's what the hot seat's all about.
yeah.
What's the most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to you, either as a yoga teacher or a student participating in a yoga class? We're dying to know.
That's good. That's good. Oh my goodness. The question, as soon as you asked the question, I don't know if I tell this story, but my first thought went back to when I was in public school, the most embarrassing thing that happened, but I think it's kind of gross. So maybe I shouldn't tell it. So, but your question is, it's just a little childhood thing. Um, the most embarrassing thing that's happened. I mean, if you're digging for, that I recall, I've never like farted in class. I don't know if that was something you guys were like expecting or at least actually, to be honest, I have many times, but not so that anybody could hear.
Notice.
Uh, too much information. Um, what most embarrassing thing? Nothing, nothing really comes to mind, because I feel like, at least in recent years, I'm just really practicing not caring.
Yeah.
Most embarrassing at a retreat, at a practice, or teaching. I mean, and these aren't embarrassing, but the things that's kind of what I've grown out of is that I just used to care so much. So like if I was leading a class and my voice was off, or my singing was off, or I was out a little bit out of tune with my singing and my guitar, that would be it's not so embarrassing. It's not like an embarrassing thing, but I would beat myself up. And so that was like a thing that I've worked through. It's not totally gone. But yeah, I mean, that for me, I feel like that's the opportunity we have as yogis and yoga teachers, is to, again, practice not caring. It doesn't mean that we're inconsiderate. We're certainly not going to all of a sudden become rude and arrogant at all, of course. But getting to the point where yeah, we don't, we're doing it as a service. We're doing it as an offering. We're not doing it for our ego of like, ooh, how good can I sing? Ooh, how many people can I get to come to my yoga class? Any of that. How many likes do I get on my social media post? But if we get to the point where everything we're doing is as a service, it's as an offering, it's because it feels right. I guess that's what I'm working on. Um, yeah, let me think. I mean, if I think of something embarrassing, I won't hold back. I will share it, but it's not coming to mind. But I just saw in the chat, Sue says she has a question.
Yeah,
So
I was gonna just say, Sue has a question for us.
let's get Sue on here for a moment.
Hi.
Hi, Sue.
Well, I was wondering, Jack, has there ever been a time where you thought that maybe you wouldn't be able to do what you've done, like create the Happy Jack Yoga Studio or this university? Is there ever a chance where you thought you weren't going to be able to do it?
That's a great
Mm,
question.
yeah, great question. And I'll just put you on mute again, but you're welcome to stay with us. Is there ever a time that I thought I wasn't going to be able to do it? I mean, to be honest, I mean, I don't know what it is, because it's evolving, it's changing, like every day, every year. And I believe in 2 years from now it will have evolved significantly again. So if the question is, did I ever think that like I was gonna fail as a yoga teacher, or like have to go back to engineering? I never thought that, because again, I'm totally comfortable with embracing this yogic lifestyle, which is simple living and high thinking. So I would be willing to give up everything and go live with my parents. And I would, so basically get to the point where my only expenses are some groceries to contribute with my parents. Like I'm okay with that. So I would be willing to do all those things before going back to a career that I didn't love. So there was no question of always, I'll keep walking on this path, but I didn't know what it was going to evolve into. Like for like 10 years, me and Hanna, our Happy Jack Yoga was not this at all. Like it was Sue, what you and Kristen experienced at the Muskoka retreat. That's what we did. Every month we were in a different part of the world, which is pretty cool, and doing exactly that, for multiple days for teacher training. And then all of a sudden the pandemic happened. And so that went from our whole business, Happy Jack Yoga, basically went from thriving to zero. It's like, okay, we can't do anything. And I know a lot of people obviously were impacted by the pandemic. So I guess because we kept showing up on our mat every day and doing yoga and doing Instagram Live and Facebook Live and just doing the things that we love and coaching, and then we just took all of our trainings and put it online. So now what Sue, is Happy Jack Yoga. Um, this was not planned. It evolved. And I feel like, 1 year from now, when I graduate from Harvard Divinity School, I'm going to have a lot more time on my hands, which is, good, because I'm going to be able to have even more energy and more time to put into Happy Jack Yoga. And who knows what it's going to evolve into. But to answer your question, there was never a time that I thought I wouldn't make it, and there's still not. And we still have challenging moments. Kristen knows, Hanna knows, we still have challenging moments and uncertainties, and and all of that comes up. But there's like I don't know, maybe it's like, yeah, I don't know. No, there's never been a moment, to answer your question simply. There's never been a moment.
I think something beautiful about our small team and our community as well is we don't come to team meetings or in-person sessions going, Jack, these are all of our problems. How do we solve them?
Mm,
That's not our perspective. It's here's maybe a bump on the road, but here's um as me, Kristen, here's some of the solutions I've thought of. Hannah, here's some of the solutions I thought of. Jack, here's some of the solutions I've thought of. And then we pick a solution. So we don't focus
mm,
on the problem so much as how are we going to overcome. So
mhm.
I just from an outside looking in, knowing Jack more intimately that way in a business aspect is I don't think I've ever seen Jack go, I don't know how we're going to get through this. It's
Mm,
how are we going to get through this? All right, let's get our markers out and our brainstorming. And I think that's really like a pivotal mindset to have when you're an entrepreneur or working for any kind of business. Is we're not coming with all the problems that we get to stack up. We're coming with the solutions on how to move forward.
mhm.
And like Jack said, it's just such a beautiful evolution, even from when I started 2 years ago as an employee, or 3 years ago from being a student till now. How the evolution has unfolded, and I for one, I'm like super excited to see after Jack's done with Harvard and all of his teaching as a community. So
Yeah,
I
I
think
love
it's,
that.
yeah,
That's
it's a
good.
mindset more than it is am I going to fail or am I going to succeed. It's failure I just don't feel like is an option.
Yeah, and it's the core values that we've created, Kristen, and it's something that we're sharing with the community as well, like really the culture. So we have core values, and one of them is to be solution oriented. So that's just because it's easy. We've all done that before, where whether we go to our boss or we go to our significant other, we go to someone in our life and just kind of like vomit our problems. I've been guilty of that. Like we've all done it, and it doesn't move the conversation forward. So we've created a culture where of being solution oriented. So whether Kristen brings a problem or I bring a problem or Hannah brings a problem, we just have an agreement. It's like, okay, of course, like we want there to be openness to share if there's any kind of an issue or a challenge. We don't want anybody to try and hide it or navigate it themselves. So bring it to the table, and at the same time bring some ideas, some potential solutions. How could we solve this? And I just quickly pulled up our document. Here's our core values. And so the first one is be high vibe, and I think that, we embrace that. You embrace that, Sue, like this community, it's a part of who we are. So that's like number one, like just being high vibe, being positive, being happy, optimistic. So that's the first one. The second one is to be solution oriented. That's just one of our core values. The third one is no yogi left behind. This is one I remember Hanna creating. It's like this, and this is why, you've seen it, Sue, right? Where students come and they're working on their 200 hour and it takes a couple of rounds. And it's like, hey, there's no, yeah, I know, no yogi left behind. Like we're here to support, right through the end. So, and that's a part. So when Kristen sends an email, when CC connects with somebody in the community forum, when Hanna and I are facilitating a call, we're operating from this value of no yogi left behind. It doesn't matter who they are, how long they've been here, and that's just again who we are. And then the last one is to be in integrity. So really seeing our commitments through to conclusions, so that our words and our actions are aligned. And these simple core values is just, how we operate as a small team and how we all operate within the community. And then it shows up everywhere. Like now that's how I operate as a student at Harvard. And that's how I operate, in all the different environments. But excellent question, because we're so pleased, Sue, to be able to share that that's where we're at now. But I can promise I wasn't there 20 years ago. And that's why it's like, so I know where your question comes from. And with time and with commitment and with surrounding with the right people, it's we get to that place. So look out, Sue. I mean, Sue, you're coming to everything. You're signed up. You're one of our beloved Patreon contributors, which we really appreciate. You're the first one who's got your accommodations booked for the Muskoka retreat this summer. You're a raving fan, and you're such a beloved member of the community, and we're so proud of you. And this is, it's such an honor to be here with you. And thank you for putting that really important question out. So let's send so much love, high vibes to Sue, Sturgeon Falls, Ontario, representing. Amazing. Oh my goodness. As expected, Kristen, the time flew. It's like it's up. Probably you still had some questions, and
I do, but that's okay. Next time.
Yeah, we'll save them for next time. But really appreciate you guys taking the time to tune in. And Kristen, thank you for joining, covering for Hanna while she's away. And this is heartfelt conversation, real conversation, surrounding ourselves with beautiful souls. Like we got Brandon at the ashram and you next week. I'm telling you, as much as I'm loving everything about my routine, every time I see you, Kristen, I'm just thinking about next week. We're going to be together and we're going out for the most amazing Mexican dinner.
If you haven't eaten at this Mexican restaurant in Bracebridge, Ontario, Canada, you don't know what you're missing. We dream about it. You try to compare to other restaurants, and it's like, it's not as good.
I know. I know. Awesome. Well, my friends, make it an amazing rest of the day. If you're listening, yeah, I won't go through all the detailed logistics, but if there's any way that we can serve you, send us an email at info@happyjackyoga.com. You'll be chatting directly with Kristen. We'll get you hooked up with live yoga, complete beginner's guide to yoga, whatever it is that you need. And otherwise, make it an amazing rest of the day. Namaste.
Namaste, yogis. Thank you.